Alrighty, we are back finally for part two of our Legacy of Dragonholt with our character Kara the Gifted. And the backstory we gave her in part one went through all the character, building the character, and doing all that stuff. And it's going to be, we use that in our playthrough of part one on the roads. What was the name of that mission? Was like back on the roads or something like that. Anyways, I forget what the name of it was. Two new roads. That was the intro scenario. So we used her backstory and her history to guide what decisions she would make in her, when it was choice time. Like, does she want to talk with these people? Does she want to be friendly with them? Does she want to, she is an apothecary. She loves her using all of her special magical ingredients to create all kinds of bombs and explosions and things like that. But of course, that's all in the back, as her main goal is to find the cure for the disease that she has, that she keeps secret. And so we're going to go ahead and pick this up with the next part. We went through the new roads and we completed that mission. And we got to the town that we were supposed to get to. We were traveling with several companions. There was a gnome, Miriam, and there was a half-orc, or half-orc, I forget what it was, Braxton. They were our traveling companions, and we've made it to the town, the village, and that's where we are going to pick it up. So, again, I'm not going to use any cameras to focus in on anything or whatever, because this is all theater of the mind and sharing stuff in the books and reading stuff and text. So you guys are just going to enjoy. Wonder if I make that a little thinner. So you can see on our character sheet, which I did transport into, it's transformed into the electronic sheet. We are going to be doing the Dragonholt village, and there's a lot in this book, so this should be a pretty long. It says 30 to 50 minutes per chapter. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to go at a slow pace, so if that bothers you, I apologize. But, alright, each quest book, including the village book, has its own tracking sheet that can be found in the back cover of the book. While reading from this book, time and progress are tracked on the corresponding tracking sheet from this book. Encounters. The encounters in this book are grouped into a number of encounters. Each encounter is a short collection of related entries. Once you begin an encounter, continue reading as normal until the encounter is complete. While reading this book, you do not exhaust your activation token. When you make a decision, your requirements are open, can be fulfilled by any of you. So, one thing I should note is we have kept track of our story points that we have. We currently have a wooden trinket that we found. 3 healing potions, 1 XP, 1 fame. We completed the 2 new roads. And then we are starting the Dragonholt village track sheet. So this, I'm sure there'll be some other information that we're going to need for that, because there's a lot of pages just for this this one sheet. So we'll see how it goes. Okay. So I wanted to kind of, go over, for those of you who didn't watch part 1, what were you doing? Why did you miss it? Kara the Gifted is a Dawnsmoor elf, an apothecary. She's 786 years old. She's female. Her skills are Arcana, Agility, Survival, Streetwise, Academy, Alchemy, Deception, Awareness, and Craftsmanship. She has 12 Stamina. Again, her main drive is the cure for her lycanthropy. And there she is. There's the information about her. You can read it over, whatever, as we progress through the story. All right. So you wake to the smell of freshly baked bread and the chipper voices of Merriman and Sapphire. Golden shafts of sunlight stream through the window beside your bed, and you idle for a moment before getting up, watching the dust float in the air in the morning light. With a yawn and a stretch, you rise from your bed and prepare yourself for the day ahead. As you step out of your room, you see Braxton was also just stepping into the corridor. She gives you a polite smile and nods. Good morning. And you just about respond when Merriman comes around the corner from the direction of the common room. Great! You're awake! Breakfast is ready! You're in for a real feast, exclaims Merriman eagerly. Come on, it'll get cold if you just dawdle in the hall. With that, Merriman takes Braxton's hand and drags her, Braxton allows her to be dragged towards the common room. Read entry 1042. All right. You descend the stairs to the sunken common room. Sapphire is setting a table with plates. Merriman ushers Braxton to the table and you both sit. You take a seat and examine the feast that Sapphire has prepared. Large yellow eggs, thick slices of brown toast, juicy ham steaks, and seasoned pan-fried potatoes. As you're scooping food onto your plate, Sapphire returns with 2 large pitchers, one filled with creamy milk and the other with freshly squeezed juice. After checking on the other patrons, Sapphire returns and sits at the table with you. So what brings you to Dragonholt? Have you come in search of love? Or, Sapphire gasps and glances before leaning in close, are you here for revenge? Braxton coughs and strikes her chest with a fist, having choked on a bit of potato, and Merriman begins laughing. The love of theatrics runs in the family, I see, mutters Braxton after a drink of milk. Sapphire blushes lightly and looks back at you. Forgive me, perhaps I gossip with the neighbors a bit too much. So we now are going to answer. We can either say we're visiting an old friend, we're looking for the next adventure, we're hoping to find gainful employment. If I'm lucky, I'm not the only one seeking true love, or I am seeking vengeance on the man who killed my father. But you need to have deception or performance, which we do have some deception, actually. But which one of these would we answer? I think we're going to be visiting an old friend because that's what we're here for. We got the letter from a friend, an old friend of ours, an old acquaintance, companion. So, visiting an old friend. 4026. I think we're going to say 4026. Visiting an old friend. Oh, who's your friend? Asked Sapphire. I know most everyone in the village. You mentioned that Celeste has sent for you to come to Dragonholt. Oh, yes, exclaimed Sapphire. Celeste did tell me she used to do some adventuring before she became a tutor for Lady Regina's kids. She comes to the Swan for lunch from time to time, though I can't say I've seen her lately. Last would have been, maybe 2 or 3 days ago. I saw her going into the Chatty Archer, a lovely little tavern run by a nice human couple. Sapphire suddenly tilts her head as if she thought of something. She looks quite frazzled, actually. She has her cloak drawn all around her. I almost didn't recognize her. I don't think I ever seen her like that before. Come to think of it, it's the first time I've seen her go either near the tavern or the village. She's not at the manor. You might try the library. She spends much of her time there. The bells to the front door jingle, signaling someone entering the inn. Sapphire stands. Excuse me, she says as she hurries off to welcome her new patrons. Read entry 2994. 2994. After breakfast, you return to your room to grab what you need before venturing into the village for the day. When you return to the common room, you see that Braxton is also about almost ready to set out. Many of the patrons have dispersed since breakfast, but a few remain in the common room, reading or mingling with one another. Merriman is nowhere to be seen. If you have any questions about Dragonholt, don't hesitate to ask me, says Sapphire. Where has Merriman gone off to? Asked Braxton. Oh, that child couldn't wait any longer and ran off to see the old apothecary shop. Sapphire shakes her head. Even if she buys it, it'll be some time before it's up and running. Nasty fire it was. Lorimer's fire is nothing to take lightly. If you discovered the hidden message in the letter from Celeste, read entry 1518. Otherwise, what? The hidden message in the letter. Did we discover the hidden message? Now I'm baffled. I'm a little bewildered. Here's our letter. There was the thing on the back. Please refer to my first letter, but I don't think that's what they're talking about. I want to read the letter one more time, and maybe we can think about what hidden message they're talking about. It says, "My friend, I pray this letter finds you in good health for once because I need you to travel. As you might have heard, I have taken a position as the tutor in the household of Lady Regina Fairfax, Countess of Dragonholt, just outside the village. I elected to take this position because I hope for some peace and quiet after the business of Necrothal. Had I known what my fortune held, I would have done something else entirely. Lady Regina's 3 children are more than lively enough to deny me any resemblance of peace or quiet, even though they are mainly grown. I remain very busy. But I did not write to you to complain about my lot in life. As you know, I never complain even when the so-called dwarven wine is very obviously an inferior human vintage. Again, or when my very favorite cloak, the blue one, is stained by some drunken lush spilling his wine. Elves should really stay out of the human taverns. I write to you because I fear something sinister is at work here in Dragonholt and I require your assistance. I dare not say more openly as I think it likely this message will be intercepted. I can trust no one here to help me with this matter. After that business in Necrothal, I have only you and a small handful of allies left. Please help me. There is more at stake than you know. Celeste." That is it. And of course, some of the words are misspoken. We did know that, like, her main cloak was green and not blue, but she says here it was blue. So, the question was, if you discovered the hidden message in the letter, the hidden message in the letter, I'm sure there's something like staring me in the face and it's bothering me because I'm usually pretty good about these things. I'm going to say no. I don't think we know. So we have not discovered the hidden message. 5302, 5302, 5302. Okay, we're gonna miss out because, I mean, there's a hidden message here. Thank you for your hospitality, Sapphire, says Braxton as she opens the door to leave. Of course, hon, replies Sapphire. Good luck with the guards. Braxton smiles and nods before leaving. You're about to leave yourself when Sapphire stops you. Oh, I almost forgot. If you're going around Dragonholt without a map, you might get lost. It's a small village, but some of the alleyways are a real labyrinth. She produces a folded piece of parchment and lays it out on the counter. Let's see, she mutters and scans the map. Ah, here we are. She marks a spot on the map, the Swan. She spends a moment marking numerous other locations for convenience. Here you are, don't lose it now, she says as she folds up the map and hands it to you. If you have any other questions about Dragonholt, come back and ask me. You gain the map of Dragonholt. The encounter is complete. The map of Dragonholt. After completing the encounter, use the map of Dragonholt to choose a new location to visit. Each location has a 4-digit number that corresponds to an entry in the book. When you choose a location, read the corresponding entry in the book. If playing with 2 or more players, you each take turns choosing locations to visit. During your time in Dragonholt, you might wish to gather information about the village or country or even events that are happening within. Return to the Swan to speak with Sapphire or visit the village hall are great ways to gather such information. In addition, you might try visiting the local taverns in search of rumors. Days. The encounters in this book are placed over multiple days and tracked in the tracking sheet at the back cover of this book. At the end of each day, an effort on the tracking sheet will instruct you to read a specific entry that bridges the gap between the night that just ended and the next day's story. The event that occurs at each location might change from day to day, and special events might occur on specific days. However, some locations will have the same or similar events on multiple days. You cannot gain the benefit of any single entry more than once each day. So we have the map of Dragonholt, which is dun dun dun. So we have, okay, so I'm going to just share what we have. Or maybe not. Maybe I Dragonholt Village image. So, you want to see an image? We will share an image with you. All right. We are currently in the Swan, which is right basically here. We have the Eastern Road, which is here. We have the Chetty Archer, which is here. We have the Baker, which is here. The Apothecary Shop, which is here. We have the Smithy, which is over here. The Guard Station, which is here. Village Hall, which is here. Library here. The Shrine. The Drunken Hog is up here. Village Center is here. The Northern Road is this one. The Countess Inn, which is this one. And the Fairfax Manor, which is this one. We have the Orchard, which is up here. And the dragon statues are over here on this side. So I know I just told you a bunch of things. We also have Widow Grove down here on the bottom. This is Market Street here. So where do we want to go? Do we want to just go to the manor and talk to our Trident Finder bunny? I think we do. I think we do. Okay. So, Fairfax Manor is 1400. So, I think we were supposed to go to the Fairfax Manor, right? Lady Regina Fairfax, yeah. So, I'm assuming we can go to Fairfax Manor and 1400. So, that's where we're headed. 1400. Fairfax Manor. All right, here we go. The manor house is a sprawling structure of gray stone, its facades covered in dark green ivy. The east wing of the manor is older than the rest. Its tall, narrow windows double as arrow slits, and its roof marked with Castilians. An arching stair leads to the main door on the ground floor. If 4 or less time is passed today, read the entry below that corresponds to the current day. Otherwise, yes, so we haven't had any time go by yet. Fairfax Manor, day 1. You step in the grand hall of the manor, which is lit only by the sun shining through the high windows. A human serving girl sits at a long table, polishing silver. If story points, well, I'm going to have to look at my story points here. Do we have V6? No, we don't have V6. S8 or V6? Do we have S8, V6? No. The manor house is not accepting visitors at this time. This encounter is complete. Okay. Well, let's see. She said she saw her going into one of the, I'm going to refresh my memory where, 4426. 4426. Wait, what? Trying to find the entry that she talks about. Oh, she was going into the Shanty Archer with her cloak drawn about her. The Shanty Archer. That's where she was. Okay, so that's where we're headed. I knew that Shanty Archer. So we're going to head to 6,500. All right, so let's go there instead. 6,500. The Shanty Archer. An archery butt lies under a maple tree outside this rustic log-style tavern. Several arrows are stuck within it, and others stand point down in the earth by the tavern's polished pinewood door. A strung bow hangs over the door, nestled under the awning to protect it from the elements. If 4 more time has passed, nope. The Shanty Archer is not opening until evening. This encounter is complete. Okay, well, we're not getting anywhere quick. We're not getting anywhere quick. We can go to the apothecary shop. Or we can go back to the Swan. Let's go back to the Swan and talk, see, let's get some more information. Find out why everything's... So that's, what, 7,400. Alright, the Swan is a neat, elegant building standing on a foundation of grey stone. The inn rises 2 stories above you, its walls singled with blue-stained wood, and its glass-in windows surrounded by whitewashed shutters. The obvious care that goes into this building's upkeep somehow conspired to make it seem small and homey, despite being one of the largest buildings in the village. Day 1. The Swan. The common room is particularly quiet. A pair of patrons are playing a game that features a circular board and several pieces of wood carved to resemble knights, dragons, and other fantasy creatures. A human woman sits in a comfortable-looking chair by the heath, wrapped almost certainly in a blanket and reading a book. Is 6 or more times passed? No. 6971. 69 70 6971. The Swan is as pleasant and homey as ever. Sapphire smiles when she sees you and waves you in from where she sits under the window sewing. Ask Sapphire for something to eat. Ask about someone or something in Dragonholt. Ask Sapphire to craft your magic armor. Return to your room for a while. Leave the Swan. Those are our choices. We don't have a war tunic. If we did, we could have her craft us some magical armor. Let's ask her. Ask about something or someone in Dragonholt. 2282. 2282. 2282. Well, I've lived here for years now, says Sapphire, while tying off the thread. I think I know Dragonholt and his residents pretty well. What do you want to know? I have a question about someone. I have a question, where in Dragonholt would you recommend? What is there to do in Dragonholt? 1514. Let's ask about our person. We're trying to find our person. Quite a few characters in the village, laughed Sapphire. Who do you want to know about? Lady Regina Fairfax? Sonia Fairfax? Celeste? Merriman, the Belmont family, the Cunninghams, and ask about Sapphire, which requires empathy, which we don't have empathy, do we? No, we do not. So we can't ask her about herself. Do we ask about Celeste? I think it makes sense. We're going to ask about Celeste. Oh yes, Celeste comes to the Swan from time to time for lunch, says Sapphire. A very proper woman she is, always quite organized. In fact, I've seen her frazzled just once, a couple days before you arrived. She was going into the Chanty Archer with her cloak drawn around her. I almost didn't even recognize her. Sapphire tilts her head to one side, as if trying to remember something. It's a bit odd when I think about it. Until then, I never had seen her go either. Until then, I'd never seen her go into either of the taverns of the village. Can't blame her. A human brew can't stand up for the elven wine. Sapphire shakes off the tangent. I wouldn't see her in a while, but if you're looking for her, I would check the library or the shrine. That's where I've seen her spend most of her time when she's not at the manor. Read entry 6740. 6740. Sapphire holds her sewing protection up to the light and examines her progress. Was there anything else you wanted to know about, hun? So we can now ask about a question about someone. Where in Dragonholt would you recommend? What else is there to do in Dragonholt? Nope, that's enough for now. So I think we either go to the library or the shrine and see if we can track this Celeste down. 2480 is the library. So we're going to say no, that's enough. That's enough for now. So time does pass. So I think we go down here. Maybe there, day 1. Okay. So it's later morning, then we have afternoon, then we have evening, and then we have night. Okay. So let's 2480 library. 2480. I really want to find out what's going on. The village library is huge for a library the size of Dragonholt. It features an antechamber, a main room with rows of bookshelves, and a few side rooms. On most day, one of the side rooms is used in the classroom for the village use. If 4 more time is passed, nope. Otherwise, the library is not open now. This encounter is complete. Okay. Well, 2790. Let's see if the shrine is open. 2790. The shrine is a building of white marble with a domed glass ceiling. A garden of flowers, fruits, and vegetables is laid out behind the shrine and surrounded by a low garden wall. In front of the shrine stands a marble column. A beacon fire is at the tip. If it is day 5, if it's day 5 and time 1 or 2 is passed, no. If it's day 7, no. If story point C2 is marked, no. Otherwise, 4010. If they're going to tell me that it's not open, I'm going to start 4010. The sanctuary is cold and peaceful. It ripples with light and shadows, and natural light filters through the glass dome and falls upon the rocky pool in the center of the room. The space is filled with the silence of a babbling spring as water bubbles up from the rock and flows out to the garden outside. The spirits are strong here, says a voice behind you. An elderly orc man emerges from the shadows, his arms clasped behind his back. He walks to the pond and stands, staring into its ever-shifting light. If you listen, you can hear them speaking. He cocks his head, then grins a tusky grin in your direction. Or perhaps it's just the water. I'm Sala. Shakla. I'm Shakla. I look after the shrine. You are welcome here. Mark, story point C2. Hey, there we go. We finally got something accomplished. C2. Spend some time in quiet meditation. 3196. I think we're going to do that. So we want some time to pass. 3196. You settle yourself on a rock by the pool's edge and open yourself to the experience. As you meditate, Salak silently places a candle before you, lights it, and shuffles away. You watch the candle burn down, listening to the murmuring of the spirits in the water. Mark 1 progress in spiritual meditation. Mark 1 progress in spiritual meditation. There we go. If story point I7 is marked, nope, time passes. Okay, so we do have more time pass. This encounter is now complete. Well, we got some spiritual meditation. Let's go to the Village Hall, 5100. Maybe we can get some more information. 5100, Village Hall. The Village Hall is easily the largest building in town. A tall edifice of pale gray stone with peeking windows of glass at regular intervals. The main entrance is a pair of heavy oak doors standing on the top of a short but broad stone stair and flanked by a pair of columns. If 5 or more time has passed today, no. The village hall is closed for the day. Okay. All right, we're going to go back to 7400. The Swan. We're going to go back to the Swan. 6971. 6971. So ask about someone or something. Ask Sapphire for something to eat. Return to your room for a while. Ask about someone or something in Dragonholt. 2282. 2282. I have a question about someone. Where in Dragonholt you'd recommend? 1582. 1582. How's the market? Are there any taverns? Where do the villagers spend most of their time? And how did you come to own this swan? Where do the villagers spend most of their time? 94, 94. That's what we're going to ask her. 94, 94. Sapphire gestures to the west. The heart of the village is the green. Villagers graze their livestock there from time to time, and other time there's a festival or gathering. The green is where we meet up. Of course, the shrine and the village hall are both adjacent to the green. The village goes to the shrine to pray and the spirit and meditate, and all sorts of business goes on in the hall, and the library is near there as well. Some of the village children get tutored there. Sapphire smile, perhaps as some memory. Then there's the Willow Grove south of the green, a popular spot for couples or children at play. Lovely trees, cool shade in the summer. Read entry 6740. 6740. So she holds her sewing cut up to the light to examine her progress. Was there anything else that you want to know about, dear? Anywhere else in Dragonholt you'd recommend? 1582, and that's just going to send us back to this. Right. The market, the taverns, 3391. Let's read about the taverns. 3391. Well, the two taverns in Dragonholt. The Chanty Archer is just around the corner from here. She points out the window. Hunter and they run the place. They're a lovely human couple. Lay is an excellent cook, nearly as good as me, Sapphire smirks. Then there's the Drunken Hog. It's a dingy place right near the shrine. A bit of a rough crowd there. Telga, the keep's owner, but she has a very orcish idea of what that means. Brawls aren't that uncommon, a bit too ruckus for my taste. Sapphire gestures to her own common room. There's 2 inns as well, but the Swan is the best one. The Countess Inn is very boring, not a proper home like my place. Visitors for Lady Regina from the outside the village tend to stay here. Read 6740. I think we're going to go back to that again. Yep. So she asks, is there anything else? Do we want to know something else? No, that's enough for now. Time passes. We can go back to our room and make as much time pass as we want. So we're going to go back to our room and then let's head back over to the library. 2940. Let's see if it's open now. 2480. Library. If 4 or less time is past 25:05. Oh, okay, here we go. The library's main hall features a tall writing desk underneath a window set in the ceiling and floor walls covered in shelves full of books. Perched atop a stool on the writing desk is a gray-robed, gray-haired human woman splattered with ink. Her quill screeches as she carefully copies out another letter. If it's day 1 and story point V6 is not marked. If it's day 1 and story point V6 is not marked. 75, 29. 75, 29. 75, 29. For a moment, she places her pen aside and picks up a sander made from silver chased horn, sprinkled a fine dust of powder resin on her ink. Then she turns to you. Welcome to the Dragonholt Library, she says. Can I help you? Her question tails off as she looks at you from the first time. She takes in your appearance and mannerisms with a critical eye for a moment before asking for your name. You tell her and she bows She blows out a breath that she may not have realized she was holding. Come this way. She dismounts her stool and leads you through the low door to a tall, narrow room lit only by windows far above you. No candles or torches, please, she says. A fire here would mean centuries of wisdom lost. She leads you around a long bookshelf, and you find that the room was not narrow at all, but blocked off by an enormous shelf. Celeste is resting comfortably in a chair with the book in her lap. Celeste, says the librarian, I've brought company. Thanks the spirits you are here, says Celeste, springing to her feet and nearly rescuing the book before it falls to the floor. Thank you, she says to the librarian, who nods and shuffles away, leaving you alone with Celeste. 5682. Here we go. 5682. All right. I'm glad you came, says Celeste. There's a trouble afoot, and I'm getting too old for trouble. Celeste doesn't look a day older than when you met her, but then again, she's an elf. I believe that someone is plotting against the noble family here. You might already know that the local lady is Lady Regina Fairfax, Countess of Dragonholt. She had, up until recently, 3 children, Sonia, Rachel, and Philip. Regina is sick. She seems a little young to me to be dying already, but humans, well, you do that, I suppose. So her daughter Sonia has poised to inherit the county. But Sonia came to me and said that she received a letter from her uncle Kyrick, Regina's brother. Kyrick demanded that Sonia renounce her position and support Kyrick's claim to Regina's seat. Sophia refused him, of course. Days later, continues Celeste, Sonia fell from her house, struck her head on a rock, and died. Not suspicious on its own, perhaps, but Sonia was, well, an excellent rider. Oh, she fell from her horse, not house. We're not a reed. Sonia fell from her horse, struck her head on a rock, and died. Not suspicious on its own, perhaps, but Sonia was, well, an excellent rider. She was alone in the forest when it happened. I became concerned that Kyrick had murdered her. I shared my suspicions with Timothel, Regina's steward, and that night I returned to my bedroom to a heavy statue in the galley toppled over and nearly killed me. Celeste closed her eyes and leans back, resting her head. So I fled. I've already sent the letter to you, so I hid in the village waiting. Mark story point V6. That's a big one. V6 is a big one. We've already asked about that several times. We now have V6. We've got the information that we need before we can go on. Celeste stands, brushing down her cloak and taking a deep breath. But nothing unusual has happened since then, and Philip and Rachel remain safe. I would seem the situation is not as dire as I'd suspected. For now, I think it wise for you to acquaint yourself with the villagers and gain their trust. We will need them on our side if it comes to the struggle for leadership. But right now, I will go straight to Lady Regina and tell her everything. Will you come with me? Of course, Celeste, let's go now, or go on your own. I have other business to attend to. We gotta go with her. I mean, that's just a dumb question. 54, 55, we gotta go with her. 54, 55. You go with Celeste to the Fairfax Manor, where a middle-aged human woman in servant livery opens the door for you with an expression of surprise. I must speak with the Countess at once. Mathilda? Melhilda, says Celeste. Melhilda only nods and ushers her upstairs, where Regina's audience chamber lies in the manor's ancient round tower. The Countess' enormous black throne is empty, but the Countess is seated on a carpet by one hearth. She is a human woman of middling years with fair skin and enormous green eyes, almost glamescent, and a face more lined with pain than by aged. The Countess has a round hoop in her lap, a piece of intricate needlework. My lady, says Celeste. Celeste, says Regina, I had wondered if you had quit my service. Please introduce us. Celeste bows and introduces you. Regina inclined her head and makes no effort to rise. What brings you to me today, my friend? With many pauses to word her story as diplomatic as possible, Celeste shares the same suspicions with Regina that she has shared with you, and she speaks a rail thin man in a ruffled tunic steps into the room to stand silently at Regina's side. Yes, says Regina at length. Timothy told me much of this the day you disappeared. It was Timothy? She offered one hand to the man with the ruffled shirt, who helps her to her feet with perfect form. Yes, milady. I was not sure what to make of Miss Celeste's suspicions, but I reported them dutifully. Regina crosses to her throne and sits with a sigh. She gestures for Timothy and points to a writing desk against the wall. Timothy, the book in the drawer there? He goes and fetches the slim leather-bound volume. This is Sonia's journal. I have not read it. There are things that a mother should not know about her daughter, I think. But you must do it, my friends. I do not want to believe that my brother would stoop to so reprehensible a crime as kinslaying, but I will not risk my children on my hope that Kenrick is still the honorable man who stood aside for me when my father named me as his heir. She presses the book into your hands. You gain Sonia's journal. Mark story point P8. And we have gained Sonia's journal. And it is pages and pages and pages to sit down and read. And 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 pages. So, please read it. Perhaps it contains some clues as to Sonia's fate, and perhaps you might prevent Rochelle and Philip from falling prey to a similar doom. She waves a hand, and Timorol rushes forward to shepherd you from the room. Her ladyship tires easy these days, he says. Thank you. We'll speak again. Celeste frowns as she walks to the door. So Timorol isn't the traitor after all. Or perhaps he's covering up. Or perhaps there is no traitor and just rotten luck. She shakes her head and opens the door. Read the book and make it a point to get to know the locals. I will call upon you again when you are needed. 2 time passes, and this completes the encounter. Dun, dun, dun. So 2 more times. So it's almost nighttime in day 1. You now possess Sonia's journal. You may read it and refer back to the journal at any time. So, because this is a lengthy journal, I think we're going to put a break in this and give me a chance to read through this. I will decide if I'm going to read all this to you or just... I mean, it would probably take me, again, 15 to 20 minutes just to read this all to you. Well, yeah, it's basically a journal. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and put a break in this one. And, yeah, maybe once I get a chance to read the journal, we'll be back sometime for part 2 of Legacy of Dragonholt here in the Dragonholt Village. So, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care, my friends. See you soon. Bye for now.